Hi. I originally planned on analyzing Google Classroom for my second analysis, but I looked at Google Classroom and it wasn't. I realized it wasn't a very useful tool for collaboration or either synchronously or asynchronously. It it's a good program. It's good for classrooms. It's great for that kind of stuff, but it wasn't great for what I would consider. It wasn't what I would consider good for online or virtual classes. So I went back to the beginning. I checked the forum. I saw that no one was doing Google Hangouts, and I wanted to stick with the Google themes again because my school's rolling them out this year, and I wanted to get as familiar with them as I could. So hopefully it's okay. I decided to go with Google Hangouts instead. Google Hangouts is a very simple browser-based free application, just like Google Docs. It allows for synchronous communication. There's not really any asynchronous, aside from the fact that your chat conversation will stay available. So if you send a message, the message could be replied to later, but it's not really where you would send a file or anything like that. The app offers a live chat box feature as well as a phone call option for an additional fee. Other than that, it's free. The live chat feature allows users to upload photos or videos during the conversation, and so that could happen synchronously or asynchronously. But there's no real file transfer or anything like that where you could save a video, upload it, and people could watch it at their own time or anything like that. So I'll show you Google Hangouts here quick. It's very simple. Again, you could do either a video call or a regular phone call, and these are paid services. And then the messaging is free. You can see here I tried to send a message to my coworker earlier today. He obviously needs a little bit of education on how to use it. I don't know if he even saw the invitation. But this would be where you would enter your new conversation. You can enter emails, people's names that you might have in your contacts or anything like that. And then once you get in there, it's just a running chat box basically. It's good for outreach, asking a quick question. You could probably use it for some simple conversational type assessment, that kind of stuff. But it's a very basic program. It's the chat part again is free with your Google Apps account. So in terms of how I would use it or how I could see it being used, students can share resources within the confines of a chat style conversation. There's no option for document sharing or live updating, so a running living document isn't really possible. However, the sharing or passing of information and resources is possible and can be done quickly and efficiently. I don't see this app being as useful as Google Docs, but I could see it as a means for quick chatting while working with students, both virtually and face to face. If you just need to send a quick message and you don't have a real powerful LMS or anything like that to use. For my purposes, Project Lead the Way, one of our projects is to work with students from another school to complete a virtual design challenge. Google Hangouts would work for this. It would help. It could provide a quick means of synchronously interacting and communicating with the students from another school. So if you just needed a quick way to chat or to talk, you could do something like this. In all reality, it works exactly like a text message. So if you have people whose numbers you have and you can get a hold of them that way, it's virtually the same thing. But this is nice for the privacy. You're not sharing numbers or giving out contact information, that kind of stuff. Google Hangouts does allow for multiple users to be in the same chat conversation, so this lends itself well to a group of brainstorming sessions. There's an archive conversation feature which would allow the users to save the conversation for future reference. However, since it's a chat style format, reviewing the conversation later could be time consuming and cumbersome because you'd have to scroll back through. It would be like reviewing your text messages. I could see Hangouts being useful for smaller parts of an overall project, but not for anything large scale requiring documentation of the problem solving process or anything like that. I think when I think of reflection as more of a synchronous application, a user creates a journal, a blog, a diary, etc., and takes advantage of the ability to organize their thoughts and review it at a later time. For example, someone could journal their engineering process in my Project Lead the Way class, and then at the end of the project, reflect on the process they took and see where they could have improved the process. Google Hangouts does not provide options for this. Conversations can be archived again, but they are simply just that, just conversations where you could go back and review the back and forth. There's no formatting for or room for extended thoughts or additions to the conversation, amendments, anything like that. In terms of outreach is an area where I could see Google outlets or Hangouts excelling. Many times experts, or in my situation engineers, don't have time to make phone calls, and when they do, conference calls are usually a pain. So Google Hangouts with allowing multiple users It could allow my students to have a conversation with an expert efficiently at the same time. It could be a real quick, on-the-fly kind of conversation. The student and engineer could both have Google Hangouts running in the background and reply to messages when they have the time. The students could ask questions, they can make comments, suggestions, etc. Get instant feedback from the engineer or whomever they happen to be in contact with at that point. It lends itself very well to our virtual design challenge or our Pennsylvania STEM competition, where we interact daily with Lockheed Martin engineers who help the kids out and give them some ideas and help them develop their product. For problem solving, the chapter for this week talks about a fishbowl activity, and I thought this was kind of neat, wherein one group is in the fishbowl while the other group is observing. And while I'm sure there are probably better apps available for this type of collaborative problem solving, this type of fishbowl activity could be completed using Hangouts. Everyone could be invited to the chat, but with certain rules about who can participate. It seems to be that an archiving process that allows students to quickly review certain parts of the conversation would be nice, but for this, a chat style format could work. So in other words, you could have kids who are involved in the chat, and then you have kids who are just sort of watching the chat happen. They could be outside observers or the people outside of the fishbowl, and then later on, face to face or in a more collaborative program, you could discuss the results of the fishbowl. The observers could talk about what they saw, back and forth like that. For my class's purposes, product development includes extensive documentation that can be quickly and easily reviewed. Hangouts simply does not allow for this. A simple idea here and there, a quick question about the process, these would both work. However, using Hangouts to actively document and log the problem-solving process would be unsuccessful. Hangouts is better suited to the early stages of development that would include simple conversations, bouncing of ideas, brainstorming, that kind of thing. And then for for demonstrate mastery, in my other analysis of Google Docs, I mentioned the use of conversational assessment, which allows me to have a conversation with a student to assess their mastery of a lesson or concept. And in much the same way, Google Hangouts could be used to accomplish this same thing. I think maybe smaller concepts would be better suited for the chat style format of Hangouts, but the concept remains the same. A simple back and forth conversation with the student, including probing questions that could be used to gain a better idea of a student's mastery of the concept. This is, like I said, this works because you can have a one-on-one conversation with somebody, or you could do the same thing with a group of students at the same time and have them show you a collective mastery of what they've learned throughout a project or something like that. So again, in summary, it's a nice program. It's not as powerful as certainly as a lot of the other programs that are out there, and even as Google Docs. I found a lot more use for Google Docs than I did for Google Hangouts. But as an entire package, the Google apps between Docs and Sheets and Forms and Hangouts and Classroom, as an entire package, this set of Google apps is pretty useful for us. There's a lot of tools that you could use there if you didn't have an all-encompassing or a bigger umbrella type LMS that you could use. You could certainly pick and choose the apps and put them together in a way that would give you a good basis for both synchronous and asynchronous collaboration between you and the students, or students and students, or students and engineers, or whatever is out there. So it's a great tool, but not as powerful as some of them that are out there. It's kind of limited. So any questions, guys, comment below. Let me know what you're wondering. If I can answer it for you, I will be glad to do that. Thanks.